Hare Krishna. I would like to welcome all the devotees today for joining His Holiness Candramauli Swami's daily online class. Thank you all for joining. My humble obeisances to you. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Hare Krishna Maharaj. My humble obeisances to you. Today we will be continuing with Canto 1, Chapter 12, Birth of Emperor Parikshit Maharaj, verse 33 onwards. Maharaj, you're on mute.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Tadavipretam alaksyaham Rataro Chutakoditaha Dhanam Prahinam Ajahuru Udijam Dishi Burisaha. Understanding the hearty wishes of the king, his brothers, as advised by the infallible Lord Krishna, collected sufficient riches from the north left by King Maruta. Purport. Maharaj Maruta, one of the great emperors of the world, he reigned over the world long before the reign of Maharaj Yudhisthira. He was the son of Maharaj Aviksit and was a great devotee of the sun god known as Yamaraj. His brother Samvatta was a rival priest of the great Brihaspati, the learned priest of the demigods. He conducted one sacrifice called Shankara Yagya, by which the Lord was so satisfied that he was pleased to hand over to him the charge of the Mount Peak of Gold. This peak of gold is somewhere in the Himalaya mountains, and modern adventurers may try to find it there. He was so powerful an emperor that at the day's end of sacrifice, the demigods from the other planets like Indra, Chandra, and Brihaspati used to visit his palace. And because he had the gold peak at his disposal, he had sufficient gold in his possession. The canopy of sacrificial altar was completely made of gold. In his daily performances of sacrificial ceremonies, some of the inhabitants of Vayuloka were invited to expedite the cooking work of the ceremony. And the assembly of the demigods in the ceremony was led by Vishwadeva. By his constant pious work, he was able to drive out all kinds of diseases from the jurisdiction of his kingdom. All the great inhabitants of the higher planets, like Devaloka and Prithviloka, were pleased with him for his great sacrificial ceremonies. Every day he used to give in charity to the learned brahmanas such things as beddings, seats, conveyances, and sufficient quantities of gold. Because of munificent charities and performances of innumerable sacrifices, the king of Indradev was fully satisfied with him and always wished for his welfare. Due to his pious activities, he remained a young man throughout his life and reigned over the world for 1,000 years, surrounded by his satisfied subjects, ministers, legitimate wives, sons, and brothers. Even Lord Krishna praised his spirit of pious activities. He handed over his only daughter to Maharshi Angira, and by his good blessings, he was elevated to the kingdom of heaven. First of all, he wanted to offer the priesthood of his sacrifices to the learned Brihaspati, but the demigod refused to accept the post because of the king being a human being, a man of this earth. He was very sorry for this, but on the advice of Narada Muni, he appointed Samvarta to the post, and he was successful in his mission. The success of a particular type of sacrifice completely depends on the priest in charge. In this age, all kinds of sacrifices are forbidden because there is no learned priest among the so-called Brahmanas, who go by the false notion of becoming sons of Brahmanas without Brahminical qualifications. In this age, therefore, only one kind of sacrifice is recommended, Sankirtan Yagya, as inaugurated by Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Om Agyan Timirandasya Gyanadhyana Sakaya Chaksu Umbilitam Yeka Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Shrimakti Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pacharine Nirvisesa Sunyavari Yatyade Satarine Vanshakalpa Tarubhischa Pipa Sindhupe Vacha Titanam Avanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namaho Namaha Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Sri Vasari Gaur Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Oh, we're hearing about a great king that was actually even before the time of King Yudhisthira, which was more than 5,000 years ago. Sometimes people wonder why things are so screwed up today. We don't have any types of leadership as it was thousands of years ago. Have we gone backwards in our progress in human culture? Yes, we have, actually. And that is only due to the last 350 years, when machines took over the world, where machines are now everything in today's life. You can't do anything without some type of machine assisting you. Here we are talking to each other through a machine. We travel in machines. We keep our house going by machines. The machine age, or the technological age, was so such an imposition on human society. It was simply taking over the whole culture. The human qualities, human activities, human advancement towards the goal of life, which is ultimately to develop one's relationship with the Supreme Personality of Godhead and devotion. All of this is being pushed out, and everything is being replaced by this machine age, which is based on exploitation of the human species. But we see what it was like thousands of years ago. And this king was so pious and so adept at performing sacrifices that even Indradev, the king of heaven, who was the king of all sacrifices and yagyas, was praising his quality of sacrifice. And here is a person on the lower level. Demigods are more proficient, more qualified, more intelligent, more adept in so many ways compared to the human species. It's almost like the demigods compared to the humans and the humans compared to the animals. That's pretty much the dichotomy in culture. And we see the animals, and they're just what they are, they're just animals. We are more like intelligent animals who have the same propensities or needs that animals have, but we have a higher quality of existence, and that means we can actually go back to the spiritual world through the process of pure devotional service. Prabhupada says the demigods are so powerful that, just like he uses a nice example, that if you want to crush an insect, it's, of course, we don't do that as Vaishnavas. We understand all life is sacred. But taking the example, if one wants to crush an insect, they can do it really easy. It's just, all you have to do is put a little pressure and the insect is gone. So in the same way, if the demigods, Prabhupada uses this example, if the demigods want, they can crush you just like we crush insects. And they don't do that because they're great devotees. And many of them they're pious, and they're also, many of them are devotees of the Lord. But still, that's the dichotomy in existence. They are so powerful. We're hearing here that King Marut wanted to offer a position to Brihaspati, who was the king of the demigods, or actually the priest of the demigods. But the demigods were thinking, at least Brihaspati was, of course, this is pretty much demigod consciousness, is that how can we accept some post offered by a human? These humans are much inferiors. Just like Ravana. Ravana, when he was getting benedictions from Lord Brahma, Ravana feared the demigods because he knew the demigods were very powerful. But at the same time, he had no fear or any concern of humans. He thought they were so puny. But what could a human do? He wanted benedictions where he could pretty much conquer all directions. And he got those benedictions. But he was thinking, human beings, why should I even ask for a boon to be protected by them? They're like insects. So, but of course, the Supreme Personality of Godhead appeared in human form in order to fulfill the boon given by Brahma to Ravana, and at the same time eliminate this demon. So we see a dichotomy in the world. But here we see something that is very, what we say, auspicious by material qualifications. This king named King Maruta. So many qualifications, so much yajna, so much sacrifices, great family. These persons ruled the world, and there's a whole series of such kings, King Bharat, and of course Yudhisthira Maharaj, Parikshit Maharaj, Prithu Maharaj, Ayayati, so many powerful Rajarsis. They were not only kings, but they were Rajarishis. They had the quality to rule the world by saintly direction. They ruled by scripture, and they were guided by the Brahmins, and they accepted Brahminical advice as the means for their successful rule. Nowadays, people who are in power around the world in different countries are not even qualified to be in those positions. They have qualities like Sudras and less. And they never take advice, except when they want to get some advice, they take it from people who give them the advice that they want. Or even if they get advice from people who are like them, who cannot give advice. They won't go to the saintly persons to get advice because Nowadays, they separate the idea that church and state should never be worked together. The state should be separate from the church or from the ecclesiastical order, and therefore, these things have to be done separately. But that is not Vedic culture, that is not human culture, that is not a way to rule, because it is fraught with personal interests. Here we see this King Marut, and now the brothers, King Yudhisthira, is sending out his brothers, because why? There was a great sacrifice done by Marut, and so much gold was produced by this sacrifice that he wanted to reward the Brahmanas for the yajna they had performed. And so he gave large amounts of gold to these Brahmanas. But the Brahmanas were thinking, this is very nice, but how are we going to carry all this gold? So they just left it. And therefore, Krishna reminded Yudhisthira that if you need some money or some finances for the sacrifice, the Rajasuya sacrifice, you should send out your brothers and find this mountain of gold. And they did, and they found a lot of the gold, and they brought it back, and that was the finance for the Rajasuya sacrifice that was required. It's interesting, Prabhupada makes a nice, interesting statement here. He says, that mountain of gold still exists in the Himalayas somewhere, and modern adventurers may try to find it. If people will read this, they will become enthusiastic to somehow find that mountain of gold. Perhaps it's been found already, we don't even know, but it was there and it did exist. So, but the main point here is that out of all the sacrifices that are recommended in the Vedic scriptures, and the scriptures, especially the Shrutis, you have the Yajna Veda, and you have Atharva Veda, you have Rig Veda, and you have Sama Veda. Mostly the Yajna Veda is full of various types of homas, sacrifices, pujas, and various types of ways to elevate one's consciousness in the material sense, from one stage of material existence to a higher stage of material existence. In other words, coming to the level of goodness and going deeper into that level to purify their goodness even more. And this is considered the ideal perfection of material life. And that all of these qualities are mentioned in the Bhagavad Gita. Krishna mentions the qualities of the mode of goodness, and people lived by those qualities, and people ruled by those qualities. And therefore, although there were difficulties, there were wars, there were various other things, the citizens were nicely taken care of when they were ruled by Satan the kings. And so therefore, the beginning of Kali Yuga started to manifest just at the end of Lord Krishna's appearance. And just before Krishna departed the world, then Kali Yuga started to rush in. And you see some of the kings during the time when Krishna was there, such as Duryodhana, and many of the kings who took the side of Duryodhana in the fight were somewhat avaricious and somewhat outside of the Vedic scheme. This happened gradually as the deterioration of the age started to manifest. And then when Krishna left the planet, that was the beginning of Kali Yuga. So now sacrifices could not be performed. Brahmins were not qualified to perform the sacrifices. And any sacrifice performed would never bring about the auspiciousness. So here, Lord Chaitanya has come in this age to give us the real sacrifice. Krishna Varna, Prasad Krishna, Sangha Parga, Sapar Sadam, Yagyai, Sankirtanai Prayai, Yajanti Hi Sumeda Saha. Devotees have to realize everything becomes auspicious when you do kirtan. Everything, your home, your consciousness, obviously, all of the things that you're connected with. And all, in fact, even the world becomes purified by the Sankirtan Yagya. It is most auspicious, most powerful, and it's orchestrated by and inaugurated by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. For those who do kirtan regularly, and Bhakti Siddhanta makes this point, only they can understand and achieve the perfection of life. Kirtan is necessary. We can read books, and we do that. We have Srimad Bhagavatam and all that. But the books tell us, do kirtan. This is the yagya in this age. Harinam Sankirtan. Krishna Varnam Tvasa Krishna Sangopaka Yagyai. This is the yagya in this age. And Sumeda Saha. What does that mean? Meda Saha means intelligence. Those who have good, Su means auspicious or great. Those who have great intelligence will engage in this Sankirtan Yagya as much as possible. And the whole world will be benefited, not only the devotees, but in everything, even the trees, the creepers, the insects, anything will be benefited by this Sankirtan Yagya. It is so powerful and is orchestrated by the Lord, and it's so easy. Anyone can do it at any time, any place. But when we do it as a group, we come together in our temples. Just like we were just in the Rath Yatra in Toronto this past weekend. And we had yagya for the whole day, the day before, just 12 hours of kirtan, and the whole atmosphere became purified. And everybody was enjoying their association with each other because kirtan was the center. And then we had the Rath Yatra, which was really powerful, 3 carts, chanting and dancing for hours. And then again, after we finished the Rath Yatra, more kirtan. So just do kirtan. You wonder how to make advancement in this spiritual life, do kirtan. You will make quick advancement and you will be happy, and you will provide the world with a great benediction. Because anyone who does kirtan becomes recognized by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. It is so powerful. It's not just part of our spiritual practice. It is the spiritual practice itself. And that's why Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has come. Golokera Premadan Harinam Sankirtan Ratin Jan Milo Kena Upai. This is the means by which the whole world can become purified. Harinam Sankirtan. So as much as we can, there's no limit to it. Sometimes we think, well, I got so many other things to do. Yes, we all have so many things to do, but if we don't do kirtan, what is the use of whatever else we're doing? It's simply shrama eva hi kevalam, as the scriptures say, useless waste of time. So here, this out of all of the yagyas that are being mentioned throughout the scriptures, this yagya is inaugurated by God himself. And he is, not only did he inaugurate it, he performed it. And he showed by his own example how wonderful kirtan is. He would gather all his friends. Udila Aruna Goda Nabaji, Dwijamani Goda Amani Jagi. Every morning, Lord Chaitanya, after taking his bath, he would gather his friends and associates together, and they would go into the village just chanting and dancing. After some time, he would go to the Ganga, take his bath, come back home, take some Mahaprasadam, and then again assemble all of the devotees, and they would perform kirtan in the courtyard of Lord Chaitanya's place. And sometimes that would spill out into the village areas. Now this was Mahaprabhu, and he did that all day, every day. not only to show, but to experience his own transcendental happiness. This kirtan is very directly enunciated that there is no other way. Hare Nama, Hare Nama, Hare Nama. Eva Kevalam, Kalon, Nasteva, Nastieva, Nastieva, Gatir Anyata. So Prabhupada said every function must be accompanied by kirtan. When Srila Prabhupada was traveling in India, sometimes he would go to these Pandal programs and there'd be many speakers and he would be one of the speakers. And sometimes Prabhupada would have to speak at the end. And there's many incidents where these speakers would be just speaking all kinds of gibberish, some kind of, Mayavad philosophy that you're God and all you have to do is realize it. And Prabhupada would be sitting there just kind of like burning up, waiting for these guys to keep quiet. And then when Prabhupada's turn, he would go, he said, let's just have kirtan. So one time they did that, and the devotees just jumped off the stage into the crowd. There was about 10,000 people in the crowd. And Prabhupada led kirtan. It was so powerful. The whole place lit up with ecstatic emotions. And it was and then everyone forgot all about what they heard from the previous speakers. They were enjoying and experiencing the transcendental happiness and glorifying the Lord by chanting his holy name. So this is our movement. This is the essence of our movement, is to chant the holy names. Of course, we perform japa every day, and that is important because that's required. It's given to us by our spiritual master. But if we only do japa and we don't do kirtan, we will not be able to get the ecstasy that is there in Krishna's mercy. So these two go together, but Harinam Sankirtan is for everyone and japa is for you. So we have to do both. And in that way, we will understand what is this Krishna consciousness. It is so wonderful. So chant the holy names, distribute the holy names, speak about the glories of the holy name, make the holy name your life and soul. And then you will understand everything about Krishna consciousness, and you will ultimately become fully purified and will go back home, back to God. So this Sankirtan Yagya, that's what it's called. It's Yagya, it's a sacrifice. Why? Because the condition of Kali Yuga is people are inclined to sense gratification and material advancement or economic development. People see these things as a way to progress in life. We need better or more material facilities to enjoy sense gratification in different ways. And if we can do that, then we are actually, making advancement, and we are happy, and we're getting so many things we need. So this is the propaganda of Kali Yuga. And it's going on in so many ways, but the fact is no one's happy. As people are still trying in that same way. It's like, you're trying to light a fire and you don't have any fuel to light it with. It's just in the same way. You're trying to be happy, but you can't do it because it's not possible. So the happiness comes really through this process of Harinam Sankirtan. Iti soda sakam nam kali kamasanam nate paratayo payo sarva vedashu drishyate. Lord Brahma speaks this verse. He said, after searching through all Vedic literature, one cannot find a more sublime and direct process of self-realization and chanting these holy names of the Lord. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. That verse is from the Kali Santara Upanishad, spoken by the head of our Sampradaya, the most powerful being on the material existence, Lord Brahma himself. So here, not only God is given to it, but all the great souls, they chant Hare Krishna. And they have their kirtan in the heavens also. And they have it everywhere. So this chanting of Hare Krishna is the means and the end of all success, both materially and, of course, spiritually. Chant Hare Krishna. That's all.
Thank you for the class, Maharaj. So, dear devotees, we can open up the class for session for question and answers. I would request, a humble request, if you can turn on your cameras to make the session more interactive and personal. If you can do so, that would be much appreciated. And please go ahead and ask your questions by raising the hand, or you can put your questions in the chat window and I will read it on your behalf alternatively. Thank you, devotees.
Hare Krishna.
Devi Mataji, please go ahead.
Thank you, Ninananda Prabhu. Dear Guru Maharaj, no question, just deep heartfelt appreciation, because I'm in bliss just hearing this class. Thank you so much. That's all.
Yeah, the bliss is unlimited if we dive into the holy name.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Harinam Sankirtan Yagya Ki Jai. Beautiful class, Maharaj. Beautiful class. Love it. Love it. Thank you. Hare
Thank you, Prema Bhakti, Hare Krishna.
Krishna.
Kalat Mataji, yes, please go ahead and
Hare
ask your
Krishna,
question.
thank you very much for today's class. I sometimes get to hear Janava, the singer. She's devotee, and her song I sometimes listen. Is that also kirtan or not?
That's kirtan, yeah.
Is it? Okay. Thank you.
But it's nice to be in the kirtan yourself. I mean, we are at home, maybe we can't move around, so play kirtan throughout the day. It's nice. And that keeps us connected, but the real bliss comes when we're together with devotees and singing and dancing. And then everybody becomes inspired by each other. We inspire each other through the process of chanting. But yeah, that's second best, you might say. That's one of the good features about this age, that this technological age has allowed us to connect with spiritual sound vibrations, either hearing the classes or hearing kirtans. Well, what you can do, you can also turn on Janavi Devi, Janavi Jivana, and just play her kirtan and just dance around the room, you know. You can sing along with the kirtan and dance around the room. I think many of us used to do that when we first came in contact with Krishna consciousness. We used to hear Jamuna sing the Brahma Samhita. Govindam Adi Purusham Maham Bhajami. And then we would dance around the room listening to that. And then many of us came because of that. And Prabhupada liked that so much that he made it a point of the daily greetings every day in all of our temples around the world.
Devi Mataji, you have a question? Please go ahead.
Not a question, actually, an invitation. I wanted to share how absolutely magical the kirtans in Mayapur Dham are. Because the temple is so huge and the devotees are so many, thousands, the kirtan is extremely powerful. And so I humbly invite every godbrother, godsister, whoever is on this call to please come at least once and taste this kirtan because it is so wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, you're in the heart of kirtan culture. Mayapur Dham is Lord Chaitanya's place. And the devotees in Mayapur, that's what they do, kirtan, all the time. And I just will remind devotees who are in London, I think there's a group there in London, or even in the UK, there is the London Rath Yatra coming up on the 30th of this month. That's big, and there's a lot of kirtan and a lot of association with devotees and many other programs along with that. So that's a wonderful opportunity to associate with devotees and experience the happiness of Harinam Sankirtan and worship Lord Jagannath in his pastime of Rath Yatra. So don't miss that. If you're in the UK, come for it. And if you're not in the UK, you can buy a ticket. There's one girl, she's coming from Italy just to come to that Rath Yatra. And there are people in different places around the world that are also coming. It's a very it's a whole day of activities, starting from about 11 o'clock in the morning all the way up until about 6 o'clock in the evening.
Maharaj, I have a question in regards to when we said that we don't have qualified priests in the Kali Yuga to chant the mantras. So Harinam Sankirtan is the best remedy, and that is what is prescribed for this age. But we see that in many ceremonies, even within our institution, there are different samskaras that are performed, different ceremonies that are taking place, and a lot of emphasis is then put on the homa or the yajna there as well. So how do we reconcile that?
Yeah, because we're not able to do these things, but if we accompany all of these with kirtan, then that overshadows all of the inebrities. So we have to have kirtan along with all of these programs. Just like yesterday, we did a initiation ceremony here in Chicago. And as soon as the initiation ceremony concluded, the priest finished the yajna, and then kirtan began. And kirtan continued to go on. So all of these yajnas must be accompanied by chanting of the Hare Krishna mantra. And that allows for the develop the auspiciousness. When it becomes auspicious, it becomes spiritually beneficial. Yeah, we can't chant properly the mantras. it's so precise. I mean, when people who actually are yogya masters, who know the Sanskrit and know how to chant, when they listen to us, they have to really restrain themselves from laughing. You know? It's like that.
The Mahamantra will nullify everything,
Yeah.
inauspiciousness, but also any offenses or anything wrong or any incompleteness that was done in the yajna.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
says that also, that even in the day-to-day life, we understand that if you commit offenses to the deity, you can be free for them by chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. If you commit offenses in the execution of bhakti, you can be free from the reactions by chanting the Hare Krishna mantra. The only thing that the holy name will not touch is if we commit offenses to Vaishnavas. And then the chanting of the holy name is there, but you're required to make the proper rectifications in order to become free from the reactions of that.
Mhm.
But everything else is covered. But don't take advantage of it that we can make a mistake or take it easy and then chant Hare Krishna. It's not like that.
Thank you, Maharaj. So, Ashwini Mataji, you still have your hands raised. I guess it's from previous. Okay. So, Scarlett Mataji, please go ahead and ask your
Oh.
question.
I do have my hand raised, but
Oh, sorry about that. I thought, so yeah, you can go ahead.
I can wait, no problem.
Okay, that's fine. Scarlett Mataji, please go ahead.
It's okay. You can ask your question first because you were first. It's okay. I can wait.
Okay, we don't want to waste Guru Maharaj's time. Guru Maharaj, I just want to say that Prem Kishori Mataji is coming with her 2 children. And so I want to invite all our God family who is in India, Namrata, Supriya, Dheeraj, to all also come to Mayapur so that we can all go together to see holy places, do kirtan together. So just setting out that invitation. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Scarlett Mataji, you can go ahead now.
Yes, Your Holiness mentioned about Vaishnava, if you do offense towards Vaishnava. But may I ask if 2 devotees, both are Vaishnavas, offense each other, how is it count? Is it right to do it?
Still an offense. Whether it's done by 1 or by 2, it's offense. If somebody offends you and you offend them back, then both of you are going to get a reaction. A Vaishnav doesn't take offense when he's offended, but the person who commits the offense will get a reaction from them. But the person who is being offended either has to tolerate it, become what we say, accept it as, something they can benefit from, or simply forgive the offender. That's all. If you go tit for tat, then you both are in the same whirlpool of reactions.
Okay.
Can't offend the offender.
What I meant actually was when someone is Vaishnava and knows about that certain behavior could be offensive towards other and still do it. How is it because this person is Vaishnava and thinks it's okay to do it, or how is it count?
It's an offense. Whether you do it unknowingly or knowingly, it's an offense.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mataji. The devotees, any other questions on this wonderful topic or anything related to the verse? Maharaj, whilst the devotees contemplate, I have had a question where related to the verse, where all the all the gold left by King Maruta was collected and reused. So can we reuse things in the worship of Krishna, in deity worship, if there's things and items that is recycled? For example, there's a big initiative in India to recycle all the flowers that's been offered to all the temples, and then there are some institutions there, they're recycling flowers, and they're trying to make, and they've made incense out of it, which is chemical free, and non-toxins and things like that. So can that be used for offering, because things was already offered, but then again it was recycled again? So related to the verse, I thought of asking you this question, Maharaj.
Yeah, it's an interesting and very intricate subject, but we have to go by the principle that the Shastras mention, is that when something is offered, if you re-offer it, it's considered to be offense. Doesn't give any detail beyond that. So I would say if they make incense, from my perspective, that can be used to maybe for, keep your home fragrant or something. But to use it in worship after it's been already been used in worship, from my perspective, it seems like it goes against the principle you can't offer something and re-offer it again.
Thank you, Maharaj.
Yeah. An offering is something that is initiated and not repeated. We can't use the same things over and over again, because the item is the offering also, and then the Lord accepts that. So what that item is now, it's prashadam. It's no longer offerable. That means it's accepted as mercy. And not something that can be re-offered again. And it's like, we offer food to the deity, and Prabhupada said you can't just take a bite of something and give it back to Krishna, It makes that point. So yeah, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he everything is owned by him, and therefore we have to use what he provides to be offered to him. Once it's offered, it becomes prashad.
Thank you, Maharaj.
Mhm.
Thank you. Scarlet Mataji, you can go
Yes,
ahead.
I have almost the same. I know about that they do the incense with the flowers in India, that I have seen a documentary about. But how do we know then this incense that I buy from Indian store here is not the same incense that they have been using the flowers on?
I don't know. You just got to figure it out. And in a lot of our temples now, we're not offering incense anymore. We're offering dupe. And people are getting away from the incense program. We're offering dupe. And dupe is much nicer. And it's being offered in some temples now. I think that should be more of the standard. Because incense, some of it's really cheap. Some of it's full of chemicals. Some of it's, as we say here, it's already been offered. I don't use incense at all, 100%. I stay away from it. But if I have to make something fragrant, we use dupe. We light dupe. That's also very fragrant, purifies the whole room, much more effective than incense.
Thank you.
I know a lot of devotees who stay away from incense. I do.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mataji. And Maharaj, I just wanted to comment on very, very profound statement that you made towards the end of the class, which is chanting is for you and Harinam is for the others. And it has, when it goes together, you experience the bliss from the chanting and from chanting the names, because it has to go in together.
Japa, yeah,
Yes.
japa is for you. And kirtan is for everyone. Okay.
If there's no questions, Maharaj, we can conclude.
Yeah. Tomorrow I won't be available, so I think Srimati will arrange something. I have to travel. But I'm gonna be going to the UK soon in a couple of days, and once I get to the UK, I should be able to do class every day while I'm there. So that'll probably either start on Wednesday or on Thursday. I think probably Wednesday.
Thank you, Maharaj.
Mhm.
Silpesh Prabhu, you have your hands raised before we conclude, if there's anything else.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. I just wanted to clarify, you mentioned that you told people to stay away from incense. Is that because of the purity of how it's made, or?
Some people, sometimes the smells are actually very, I'm not attracted to the smells, some of them. Some of them are nice. If somebody gives me an incense, I usually give it away. Or sometimes if I want to, if there's some odor in the room, I light some incense. But I don't keep incense at all. I keep Duke though. Duke is great.
Well, what is dupe compared to incense? Because I'm not familiar with it.
Who can explain Duke? Can you do that, Dinanath? What is Duke?
I can try my best, Maharaj, to the limited knowledge I have. So dupe is also, so they're made in two flavors. So one is like, for example, frankincense or a guru. So you get the crystals for that as well, and you can actually, there's a process that you burn it, and it emits a fragrance. So that is also a dupe, but also there is a havan dupe as well, which when we use the havan samagri, all the ingredients for the havan, which are also very auspicious. And then they are also using that as a substitute as well to purify your home and to purify your home with positive energy. So you still get the flames, but it is not from the bamboo sticks and not from the chemicals. And many of the dupes are now being made from cow dungs as well, so which is also auspicious.
And it keeps mosquitoes, chases the mosquitoes away too. Just an added feature.
Sorry, I have exactly one bit of oat and it's look like this, right?
No, that's not. No, that's something else.
That is camphor, Mataji.
That's
Okay.
Maharaj, if I'm comfortable using good quality incense like I get from the manna, that's fine for me to use at home if I'm comfortable with it.
I'm not saying you can, and I'm not saying you should either. It's up to you.
Can I please ask if you can write the name so that I can write it down?
DOOP. There are many, many places, some of our stores, temple stores, they sell dupe. It makes billows of smoke. It's really nice. Prabhupada would have that done every day. When he was in India, they would light the frankincense, and the whole area would become, just fragrant, and all the mosquitoes would go.
Thank you, Maharaj.
So Govardhan Echo Village, they make dupe and also sell it. Many places that have cows, they process it and actually make dupe sticks also. Music comes from those areas. And of course, you have the commercial stuff that's made in India and places also. But I like the dupe that we make. It's the best because it's always laced with cow dung. Cow dung's auspicious. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Maharaj. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhuvya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Samaveta bhakta vrind ki jai, Granthra Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Lord Premanande, Hari Hari Bol.
Hari Hari Bol.
Harinam
Gurudeva ki jai.
Sankirtan ki jai.
Jai.
Gurudeva
Thank you very
ki
much
jai.
for today.
Okay.